Hey folks, we're now on week 12. Jesus, only 40 to go. This week we are going to be looking at silhouettes. And not because it's necessarily easy, but because we're going to use a silhouette to figure out how to check the lines and whether we're doing it right. So I've chosen a bird, but you could choose any image you want. And it's all about learning the vertical and horizontal comparisons. So really, really helpful for any drawing that you're doing. Using these lines should help with everything in life ever. Okay, so grab your pencils and let's get started. Don't be afraid when you see this bird. It looks complicated, but we're not working on the inside, we're working on the outside. So I like to think of a place that is a nice place to start. And in this situation, I'm starting with the neck because there's a strong bend in direction. And it also means if I start here, I can kind of gauge where I need to be because the neck is quite close to the top. And then I know I need to put it on my paper a little higher up. And hopefully the head won't be too big. So it's also helping me to set the boundaries of how tall it should be, and nothing will kind of slip off the page. So what I'm doing is just kind of going for it at first, and I'm going to check it very, very soon. But I need to get something on the page, and I think often when we draw something, we hinder ourselves, and we're like, I need to do this, or I need to do this, or like, where do I start? And for me, it's just kind of like get something on and see what happens. If you have nothing to compare to, then how can you keep testing it and keep pushing it and seeing where things go wrong because you've got nothing on the page? So I'd recommend just to put something on the page for now and try to avoid putting detail in there, but put a little bit in so you kind of have some anchors to compare to. But I wouldn't bother with like the eye or individual feathers. I would just think about like the odd shape that's important to you. I've kind of done this little nubbin on the nose. I think I actually got carried away and was like, oh no, we're doing a silhouette. So let's maybe ignore that. Okay. So it's looking okay so far, but I have no way to check it. So what I'm going to do in a second is I'm going to start to show you how to check your line. So get your outline on there, and then I'll show you a little method that can help with the measuring or the angles of the lines, and it's going to be super, super helpful. So a good trick whenever you're drawing is to use vertical and horizontal lines. We use these for comparisons. So I'm going to use my pencil on my bird and I'm just going to check the vertical line. Now, this means nothing if I don't compare it to my original picture. So I'm going to pop a little vertical line on my picture as well so I can compare the two spaces. Now you can see on the left when I have a vertical line there, the line is touching the chest of the bird and there's a gap at the bottom between the feet and the line. Whereas mine, it touches the chest of the bird but there's no gap on the feet. So I have two choices. I either move the chest outwards or I move the feet inwards. So I'm going to try moving the chest outwards. And usually when you have these two choices, there's not a right or a wrong. It's just whatever I think is easiest. I mean, don't get me wrong, there is sometimes the right decision, but if you change one thing, it will affect the other. So I could have made the feet smaller, or I could have moved the chest and made that wider. So there's always a choice to make, and I always say work smart, not hard. Now let's look at a horizontal reference. So I'm putting this along the feathers with the feet. So I'm trying to see what's in line with the feet. So my straight line touches the feathers at both points, and then the front toe on the right is dipping down. Now on mine, my front toe is not dipping down at all. So I need to change that. I need to make sure that that little claw is going down at an angle. So I'm just going to amend that now. So check that on yours and let's see what happens to your feet and where it is in relation to your feathers. So this method, doing the vertical and horizontal reference, is so good for checking your drawing. You're looking for not only what your line is in line with, but also the negative space between your vertical line and your object. It creates a barrier for you to compare to because as humans, we can easily see a vertical line and we can easily see a straight line. If you imagine you're hanging a picture on a wall, you'll be the first person to say it's wonky, won't you? Because you're that person. No, I say that because that's what I used to do as a job. I used to hang artwork, and the amount of clients that were like, it's wonky, and often they were right. It would be like a tiny bit wonky, but even if it wasn't, it looks wonky. So we already have it in us to see something wonky. So work around your drawing now, comparing, checking, using this method, and hopefully it should help with your proportions and the angles of things. And it's just really, really helpful. It's another tool for you to have to become a better artist and become a bit more accurate. And then once you've done that, shade away. Just throw some pencil in there because, as I said, this session is just about silhouettes. It's about a way to find out how you check artwork, and a silhouette means we don't have to stress about all the stuff in the middle. So hopefully you found this really useful. I definitely did when I was learning to draw, and yeah, keep going with it. Good luck, and I can't wait to see your progress.